Welcome to Video 2, Volume 1. The topic of Video 2, Volume 1 will be how to overcome procrastination and working on existing habits. The power of avoiding distractions and procrastination. So what is procrastination? Procrastination is the avoidance of doing a task which needs to be accomplished. It is the practice of doing more pleasurable things in place of less pleasurable ones, or carrying out less urgent tasks instead of more urgent ones, and putting off impending tasks to a later time. Procrastination usually stems from being overwhelmed with thinking you have a multitude of things you need to complete, and being unorganized in arranging the tasks to allow you to complete them in the most efficient way. The feeling of being overwhelmed and therefore avoiding the task usually causes anxiety, which is a problem, since this can trigger the feedback loop where the person feels anxious about doing the task, then makes them even more anxious. If you are somebody who puts things off and avoids doing tasks which are important, you're probably more than aware of this. It's likely you regularly ask yourself, why am I putting these tasks to one side? And it's also likely you find yourself at the end of another day, and when you look back, you've ticked nothing off or achieved much. Procrastination is a big subject, because I believe it's linked to so much. For example, diet, exercise, poor organisation, poor time management, lack of self-confidence, and the addiction to distractions, which is why majority of these things are covered within the Video 2 module, as they all link together. Just think, if you can get the things you know that are so important completed in the most efficient way to allow you to focus on new growth tasks and move forwards, imagine how much better your life could be. Imagine how fast you could outpace others who cannot get past the idle state of not achieving much on a daily basis. Procrastination is the enemy of success. Success is due to some form of movement, whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, or intellectually. Nothing can be achieved without movement, hence why those who find themselves idle and allowing the day to pass by are those who receive very little in return. These type of people generally find themselves overweight and unhealthy, earning low salary work and absorbing irrelevant information which aids no benefit to their growth or future. So what causes procrastination? Honestly, it's a really complex subject. For example, you could simply say lack of sleep decreases general motivation, or lack of healthy food causes fatigue, which promotes laziness. There's so many reasons which can affect the everyday person when it comes to simply just getting tasks complete. Even the small tasks, like taking the bin out. What's more important is pushing past procrastination, controlling what can be controlled, and building a new habit of self-control and pushing yourself even when you can't even be bothered. If you can build these new habits, each time something needs doing, you'll automatically just get on with it regardless of how you feel. Procrastination is a lack of motivation. Maybe this is fear of failure, anxiety, not knowing how to approach or begin the task, or the things noted before. For example, lack of sleep and poor diet, which can cause mental exhaustion, which results in a lower form of self-control. Similar to when you're tired or ill, so you eat junk food and pass on exercising like you usually would, which then delays the original task and causes the effect of anchoring. Mental anchoring is when you attach a feeling or smell to a life event. Say for example, a certain perfume reminds you of someone. That's anchoring. Therefore, each time you smell the scent, it reminds you of that person. Maybe a song brings you back to a past moment. This is also anchoring. Anchoring is a double-edged sword. If used correctly, can provide insane positive results. This is because you can use the power of anchoring to bring yourself back to particular points of strength to overcome events, or the opposite, to suck you into negativity and weakness. But if you are ill or mentally exhausted, you then procrastinate or forget about your diet plan or skip your exercise. This then becomes a habit and form of anchoring, meaning each time this happens, you give up. Anchoring can even be from location, maybe in particular environments, for example your apartment. You feel a lack of motivation. Maybe because your bedroom makes you feel sleepy since your bed is in the room, or maybe it's because your games console is right in front of you with the TV above it. Anchoring can even be attached to friends and family, maybe certain people you spend time with. So it's important to be aware of our environments and those we spend the most time with to ensure they are not hindering and preventing our efficiency and productivity. Failing to self-regulate our own behaviour and allowing ourselves to be vulnerable to distraction simply means it will take twice the amount of time or even more to complete the necessary tasks to get us closer to our goals. This will also postpone what we are truly capable of achieving. We know and understand what we need to do, but usually there is a gap between our intentions and what actually happens in reality, known as the contemplation gap. This is the gap we need to work to close. Most importantly, we need to ensure we are working on projects which we're truly passionate about and excited about. Because when we're excited and enthusiastic, our motivation and positivity outweighs the occasional negative. Usually, when we put off tasks, it's because the procrastination outweighs the motivation. It's about ensuring our self-control outweighs the effects of the negative factors involved when completing the task. For example, temporary fatigue. Generally, people will put off what they know needs to be completed because there is no instant reward or gratification. A great example of this is when someone joins the gym to lose weight. They know and understand they need to reduce their calories and stay away from foods with high sugars and fats, but unfortunately their instant gratification switches on and the pleasure of eating something sweet and fatty overrides the longer term satisfaction of being in great shape, feeling confident and looking better when they look in the mirror. Instant gratification is a huge problem amongst most. People fail to understand that the day you plant the seed, whether that seed is learning a new skill set, a language or joining the gym, is not the same day you receive the reward. Majority of people lack the self-discipline, self-control and the perspective to view to look into the future to visualize what they will be if they were to put in the work today. Instead of one day, it should be day one. You find motivation for a task or goal when you begin the task, not beforehand. So it's important to make today the day you start on your goals as opposed to keep putting them off. Begin swapping Spotify or Apple Music in the car for educational or motivational podcasts, junk food for healthier options, Netflix for reading in the evenings, and try walking to the shop instead of driving. Simply swapping things around and adding, reducing and refining will aid as a huge improvement, even the little things. For example, 1 sugar in your tea instead of 2. Everyone knows that once you get to the gym after putting it off for months, you feel motivation once you walk through the door. Many times in the past, I have fought with my mind desperately over not wanting to go to the gym and work out, but once I arrive, I completely forget how I was feeling before I left. Doing one thing, whether it's good or bad for your physical, mental or emotional being, will not make a huge difference to your overall life. For example, 1 McDonald's isn't going to kill you, 1 cigarette will not give you cancer, but it's what we choose to do consistently is what makes the difference. Which is why you can tell where most people will be in 6 months just from looking at their previous 6 months. The way someone does anything is the way they do everything. So consistency within our actions is truly the key to reaching our goals and maintaining ourselves. This goes back to earlier when I briefly spoke on anchoring. Majority of the things you do within your daily routine is almost second nature. So we need to flip the routine upside down and change our habits, environment, those we associate with, and our daily routines and lifestyle management. Let's go into some of the reasons as to why most people find themselves distracted or procrastinating. Non-specific and vague goals. When we make goals, majority of us lack clarity on exactly what it is we want. For example, we set goals like, I want to be rich, or I want to get fit, or I want to be healthy. Because of how vague these goals are, we have no real breakdown on how we can achieve them. Our goals need to be robust, solid, and set in stone. We need to clearly define specifically what we want, as vague goals will lead to distraction and procrastination. Begin replacing vague goals with specific goals. For example, changing I want to get fit to Monday, I will exercise my legs by completing 30 minutes on the rowing machine, followed by 15 minutes on the running machine. I will repeat this 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. When we specify exactly how we're going to achieve our goals, we stand a greater chance in achieving them, and a plan in place often leads to action and movement. As a Forex trader, we can set goals which are vague. For example, I want to be more consistent with my trading, or I want a higher win rate ratio. These are so vague, and although we have good intentions, the gap between our intentions and the reality is so huge, we often disappoint ourselves when we haven't achieved them. Begin writing your goals out with clarity. A great example would be, I want to become a more consistent Forex trader. Therefore, each evening I will spend 60 minutes backtesting the strategy I'm creating on my 4 favoured Forex pairs to view the outcome on 4 different timeframes to find a win-loss ratio. Once I completed this, I would then spend 60 minutes reading research books on forex trading to help me gain more knowledge on my desired craft and skill set. Third person disconnect. One cause of distraction and procrastination is due to future self and third person disconnect. This is when the person who isn't being productive has a short-term vision of their future self. The way they feel about their current version of themselves doesn't match what they feel they would be if they were to pursue and complete their goals. There is simply no belief in their future self. For example, because the aspiring and learning phase forex trader cannot envision, see or feel themselves being consistent and profitable, and feeling inside what it would be like to be that profitable person, they procrastinate on tasks required to get them to that version of themselves. Unfortunately, most people fail to see the potential of who they could be and focus more on the past or present as opposed to the future. Because of this limitation and lack of vision for what they could be, they don't believe in why they are doing what they are doing. You could tell someone to stop smoking, otherwise they will die. But in the present moment, they are not dead yet. So therefore they feel it isn't their problem. It's their future self's problem to figure out that when they get there. Just using that as an excuse to continue sabotaging yourself in all areas of your life is a reason why you may not be achieving what you want for your future. It's back to what I said earlier. The day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit. Everything you're doing today will have a direct result and consequence on this day exactly 1 year from now. You cannot get rich from forex the moment you walk into the markets. It just doesn't work like that. But if you can envision what life would be like when you are consistent and successful profitable forex trader, this will provide the motivation which will outweigh the current present moment negatives of not yet having what you want. Any huge success story you read from a celebrity, athlete, or rags to riches will have some element of visualization within it. Those who were in difficulty in their present moment could teleport their minds into a future point where their problems they were facing today did not exist in the future. It's so important to find a way of viewing yourself in the future to make your current self realize why it's doing what it's doing. Before giving up, you have to remember why you started. What would your future self think of you right now if you could meet them? Sure, right now you are not who you need to be to have what you wish to have, which is why today you need to begin working on who you need to be. Just because you are yet to see the rewards doesn't mean they're not coming. Remember, time will pass by anyway, so you may as well start today so your future self can benefit from the sacrifice, self-control and discipline you use today. An alternative future focus. Something which I know holds people back from getting started today is an alternative future focus. Everyone knows this one. It's when basically you say something like this: I am going to join the gym when I get back from holiday, or I'm going to focus on learning forex when I finish college. So instead of not starting the gym today and maybe just going for light runs or long walks before your holiday and then joining the gym when you get back from holiday, they decide to just do nothing at all until they join the gym. When really, a long walk or a light run would still be beneficial. Similar to forex trading. Maybe you cannot give learning forex 100% of your attention right now because of your college, but even if you can give it 20% of your attention until you can give it 100% of your attention, that's better than no attention at all. Instead of doing 0 until you can do 100, try and do something instead of nothing to at least make a start. Otherwise, these continuous excuses because of your present responsibilities is going to mean you end up with the same result you get every day forever, until you finally decide today is the day you begin using any spare time you have to at least make a start. Underestimating the time to complete a task. Sometimes, when we begin a new challenge, we can underestimate how long this challenge may take to complete. I know personally, when I've set myself a goal, it's always taken twice the amount of time to complete than I initially thought. Especially when it comes to a new business or, say for example, forex trading. Be realistic and try to avoid being too optimistic when assuming the amount of time you will need to tick off your to-do list or complete your goals. When we are too optimistic with how long the task will take to complete, we tend to procrastinate right up until the last few days and then rush like crazy to get the work complete, which then results in the work being a diluted version of what it could have been. If you have a long deadline, it's better to get the task completed sooner rather than later to give yourself enough time to perfect and refine the finished version. Also, you will normally find that when you complete something and then revisit a few days later, you will nearly always find ways you could improve the final product. So it's important to allow yourself a buffer of time to review everything for improvements. Building the habit of getting to work on the tasks you have sooner rather than later will break the cycle of putting tasks off to the last minute and avoiding the excuse we make for ourselves when we tell ourselves we will get it done tomorrow. Feeling overwhelmed, which is a big one I know for everybody. Feeling overwhelmed is such an obvious cause for procrastination and seeking distractions. Feeling overwhelmed can stem from a number of different variables, for example, having what feels like a long list of tasks which currently is being stored in your head, or having one task which feels like such a huge task and you're not sure how to begin. So many times I felt overwhelmed because I've assumed that inside my own head I have so much to do. Everyone asks you what you're up to or how's life, and your instant reply is busy. But in fact, when you take a pen to paper, you realise there isn't that much to do, or at least you realise it's more manageable. By writing down everything you can think that you need to do, you can then see that a lot of those things connect to one another, are the same thing, or turn out to be small tasks which may only take 5 minutes or less. So begin just writing it down, guys. Begin getting that pen and that paper out, writing it down, breaking it down, giving yourself deadlines for each one of those tasks. Whenever I'm feeling overwhelmed, I always write down everything and begin working through the list in order of priority. Feeling overwhelmed can cause you to feel paralysed, and more often than not results in you getting nothing done at all. A great example of feeling overwhelmed is when you're going on holiday and you feel like there's just so much to do or pack. So the simple thing would be to grab a pen and paper and begin writing. For example, book flights, check in and print boarding passes. Write a list of clothes you will be taking and tick off each garment once it's packed. Book hotel closest to the beach with breakfast for less than $1,800, print booking form. Use a comparison site to find the best value holiday travel insurance. Organise airport parking or taxi arrangements. Find the best currency rate and collect euros, obviously if you're going to Europe. This is a great example of breaking down everything you can think of when booking your trip away and ticking off as you go. Feeling overwhelmed can also be due to mental exhaustion or fatigue, lack of sleep, poor diet, and generally a lack of self-care. It's important to remember that when you are not taking care of yourself, staying hydrated and eating and sleeping, you cannot function at the same performance you usually would. The best remedy for this is taking a few days to get yourself back on track, remembering that we're all human and sometimes we just need to slow down, breathe, and show ourselves some self-care and love. A day or two to take a break to then allow ourselves to come back stronger is a logical time investment. I understand we're on the topic of procrastination, but I do also believe rest and a recharge is crucial to continued performance and good results. How can we pour from an empty cup and push ourselves to get everything done to a specific date when we are completely exhausted? Sometimes it's best to leave your work for a day or two and revisit when you feel re-energized and you're thinking straight. Otherwise, the result will be poor quality and work and output. Feeling worried or concerned about a task. People will generally delay a task if they are nervous about doing it or seeing the current status of the task. For example, checking your bank account. Yet the delay makes no difference to what's happening or has happened. Another example would be delaying opening your MT4 app to see if you are stopped out or not. Delaying and avoiding the task because of the anxiety you may feel simply encourages more anxiety and triggers the feedback loop of continuous anxiety. I personally have delayed checking my MT4 app when I first begun trading because I knew I had not used the correct risk management, therefore I was anxious about seeing how down I may have been on the open positions. By delaying the inevitable and allowing the day to go by without checking it, what I did not realise is that I actually had a sell limit placed further up. When I finally came around to check the account, I found myself in the original position and triggered into an additional position. If I had checked my account first thing, I could have closed my loss at a better price and cancelled the sell limit I placed higher up. Delaying or avoiding the task because of how you may feel could actually make you feel worse, like it did me, when I then finally checked my MT4 account. Fear of what people may think. They say the greatest ideas and creations can be found at the graveyard, and isn't this true? The people around you are full of great ideas and solutions to our everyday problems will most likely never get started on those creations and die as a statistic. Why? Because they are never bold enough to take a risk or be open to negative feedback and negative evaluation or any form of criticism. Unfortunately, the reality is you always find at least one person who, no matter what you do, you cannot please. Sometimes you're going to come up against people, even friends or family, who you would never agree with. You would not agree with these people as to why you were committing to Forex or why you were trying to quit smoking, especially if they have failed at Forex or refused to stop smoking. The important thing to remember is you're not here to try and please everyone or have everyone like or agree with everything you say. So just take this on board, guys, because you're going to naturally come up against people day in, day out, people even like friends, family, who you would have never thought would not support you, who are going to question what you're doing. That's just a reflection of them. Being afraid of people's feedback will cause you to delay maybe the truth of who you are or what you truly desire, or even a project which may competitively upset someone. Treading carefully through life, attempting to not break anything and always trying to please and getting along with those around you is always going to end up with the same outcome. You being left as a person who feels depleted, miserable and depressed. It is your life and it's up to you how you decide to live and take action, regardless of how your mother or close friends may feel about the choices you make, which may feel crazy or risky to them. Besides, it's also always good to note that negative feedback and criticism isn't always a bad thing. It allows you to hear their opinion and to either take it into consideration or disregard it. Most importantly, try to take advice from those who you wish to be, or from those who have actually done what you hope to achieve and been successful with it. The boos and naysayers normally always come from the cheap or inexperienced and envious seats. When someone tells you that you cannot do something, it's a reflection of their own self, not yours. You can't let this delay or stop you from going ahead and moving forwards when you have so little time in this life. You need to take a good look around you, listen to the conversations, the rhetoric, the patterns of those close to you and their close friends and family, and also their close friends and family, and what's changed with those people. Is this really what you thought your life would be? Sitting and listening to your friend's friend who has just split up from his girlfriend for the 6th time. People will stay in miserable relationships or jobs through fear of upsetting the person they are with or their colleagues or family. Sometimes people quit their job or their relationship with no real intention of actually quitting, but just to create drama within their lives. What you need to think about is, what do you really want? What's really outside this bubble you currently find yourself within? This friend circle which literally just keeps going round in circles. Ask yourself, are these people really helping me grow and improve? Or are they delaying me from moving forwards? They may not be directly sitting and holding you back physically, but when you look deeper into the connections you have with those around you, who is really listening to your creative ideas? Who is carrying on with the conversation you started about your goals? Are people really as interested as they claim to be? Or are they simply yes men, like the politicians that you see on TV, who just say yes to everything? Sometimes we will temporarily upset someone from saying the real truth, but gain their long-term respect from doing so if they are the right person who is meant to have a place within your life. Never be afraid of being who you truly are and owning who you truly are. Those who appreciate this and your honesty and transparency will stand by you regardless. Let's talk about actionable tips to prevent procrastination. Begin waking up 1 hour earlier than you usually would to allow yourself extra time in the day. 1 hour extra per day is nearly a full week's work extra per month. Write a specific to-do list detailing exactly what you need to complete today and this week. Prioritize in order which has more significance and aim to get the less appealing and most time-consuming or difficult tasks complete the first thing when you wake up. Download apps, for example, Off Time, Moment, Flipped, Space, Brain FM, Freedom, Focus Me, which prevent your social media notifications and actually stop you from going on the most distracting apps. For example, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, etc. Fortunately for people like us who try and avoid distractions, some clever people have created apps which prevent you from using certain functions on your phone so you can get on with your work. Alternatively, you could try switching your phone onto aeroplane mode. Try turning down social events and begin using the time you would have spent at those meetups on your to-do list and goals or targets for the week instead. I'm not saying become a complete recluse, but it's about maximizing the time we have within the day. When you begin doing this more frequently, you'll begin to build a good habit, so then when you find yourself at a social event, you'll feel bad. It's similar to when you cut out chocolate. Each time you see it, you remain disciplined. Then when you eat it, you feel awful that you've gone against what you said you wouldn't do. Get used to saying no to basically everything which doesn't benefit you. It sounds so selfish, but I promise you, although difficult for some initially, the long-term effects of only really doing things which benefit your purpose is so powerful. It doesn't mean it always has to be like this, but until you have formed good habits and discipline, you need to be focused on saying no. When you're strong enough to pour from your cup and begin absorbing people's lives and problems, you can reintroduce yourself to their circles, or simply find some new circles entirely, who will speed up your growth and cut your learning curve. You need to begin looking at everything around you and ask, is this doing anything for me which is beneficial? I cut out beef and pork 2 years ago because I began looking at it and thinking, is there anything good about this? Is there an alternative which serves me better? I realised when I researched pork and beef, there was just nothing positive about it. So I asked you to go away and write a list of things or people you regularly do or see, or foods or drinks you may consume, and really ask yourself, what is this doing for me? How is this serving me? Do I need to put up with this in my life? It's the same with Forex trading. Begin asking yourself, do I really need this trade in my life? How many reasons do I have to take this trade? Do I even want it? Can I actually place a stop loss for this trade? Am I actually getting more than 2% from risking 1%? Do this with everything else in your life too. For example, do I really need that friend in my life who never texts me, but I always text them? Begin delegating what you're not good at to those who are good at it. If you're in a position within your life where you do have a few good people around you who want to support or help, if you lack within something which you know they're amazing at, say for example, drawing or social media management or writing, ask them if they can help. Most people overestimate their own importance in the completion of a task, not realizing that sometimes it's in their best interest to delegate. You'll then find that the right people around you are usually more than happy to help and get involved. But since you haven't asked and they can see you've got it already, they probably haven't said anything. Set your alarm on your phone for the morning you wake up and leave your phone in a place which requires you to actually get up to switch the alarm off. Forcing yourself to get out of bed to stop the alarm ringing is a great way to prevent yourself from staying in bed. Most people will stick their phones under their pillows. Placing your phone away from you is also a great deterrent to using your phone right before bed. Using your phone right before you go to sleep has been proven to cause poor sleep and increase the time it takes to actually get to sleep. Get started by just doing one small thing of the thing that you really need to do. So say for example, you said that you would chart 12 Forex pairs this evening, but you can't be bothered. Start by just doing one pair first. You'll find that once you've started doing the task, it's much easier to continue doing it. For example, run 1 mile becomes put on your running shoes and gear. Or read the book tonight, which you've been putting off every night, becomes read 1 page. By just doing such a small part of the bigger task, this will create a pathway habit which will naturally lead you down a more productive route and begin to build the foundations for new habits. Just getting started will build the momentum to then follow through and complete. Usually, putting on your running shoes or reading 1 page takes less than 1 minute. A habit must first be established before it can grow and improve. If you can master the habit of just getting started, at least, and showing up, everything else will fall into place. So start right now by just reading 1 page and watch how many pages follow. Start by opening MT4 and analysing 1 pair in the morning and see how many pairs you end up really charting. Remember what I said earlier. To get the things you want out of life, you have to become the person who already has it. It isn't easy, but by just taking one step, this will begin to tell your subconscious that you're changing. You're beginning to adopt a new identity. The side who really wants this will begin to outweigh and fight against the other lazy and non-productive version of yourself. If you begin reading 1 page a day, every day, you'll begin building confidence within this new person you're trying to become. Don't focus on finishing the book, focus on being the type of person who doesn't miss a day where you do not read at least 1 page of your book. Focusing on the end result before you've even begun will always put you off. I used to pick up a book and before I even started reading it, I would go all the way to the back and see how many pages that book had. If it was say 350, I'd be put off because I'd know it would take me ages. It's a bit like a marathon. To run a marathon, it takes months of dedication, commitment and sore muscles. But try not to think of the process and the journey and just do this. Day 1, fast-paced walk. And before you know it, 3 months would have passed and it will be day 90, 6-mile run. Try to avoid being consumed by the end goal. 1 page of a book is better than no pages. I would prefer to do less of what I hope than do nothing at all. Tell others about your goals. Telling others about your goals, for example family, friends and work colleagues, will hold you accountable to what you said you would do. Having an accountability partner or someone you check in with on the goals you've set or tasks you said you would do will force you to take action. Hang around with people who want to get stuff done. Try and avoid people who are always looking to chill. I always have the theory that your friends should be split up into different categories. For example, a friend for playing Xbox and maybe grabbing a pizza, a friend for serious talks maybe about business, finance and goals, a friend to gossip with, a friend to get drunk with. But it's rare you will find a friend who's all of those and at the times that you need it. It's okay to have all different friends for different reasons, but never mix a friend who likes to get drunk frequently with a friend who is up early in the morning hitting the gym. If you want to double down on your gym routine, begin spending more time with the healthy gym friend. If you want to party, hang out with the other friend who likes to drink, but never mix the two or expect something different from the person than what they are. Which means that basically, if you're trying to, convince somebody who likes to go to the gym to come out and get drunk with you, that can cause a bit of tension between the relationship. This is why you need those different friends based on your kind of personalities and what obviously you want out of your life. Reward yourself for accomplishing your tasks or to-do list by the date that you set. Rewarding yourself is key to providing an incentive to getting things done. Besides, it always feels so good when you've worked through and ticked off everything off your list. Begin rewarding yourself maybe with 1 hour or of doing nothing after doing so much. Maybe this could be a bath or sitting on social media, but make sure you keep it strictly to 1 hour and that's it. We wouldn't want to then slip back into old habits. Begin boxing each task into a block. When we know we have to do something which we hate doing, knowing it's only for a set period of time can help the task feel easier. Most people who go to work hate going to work, but knowing they only have 8 hours there makes it more bearable. So as the clock begins to tick, they begin to count down the hours they have left. I'm not encouraging you to do things you hate doing, but sometimes we do have to do the things which may be painful or unpleasant, for example exercise, to reach our goals. Begin boxing off into specific time slots. For example, reading, 30-minute and then that's it. Exercise, 45 minutes and then no more. This can make it much easier. You can also download the timesheet I've included in the download section to begin writing out your tasks and placing them into 30-minute time blocks. This timesheet is obviously really good because it allows cut-off points for the things that you need to achieve, and also allows you to track data and view what you're actually doing in a week. Because many people will say, I'm busy, I have no time, but actually when we really look at the week ahead and we really consciously make an effort to write down exactly what it is that we're doing in half an hour blocks, at the end of the week, we can look back and actually see that we weren't really doing that much throughout the week. Switch between tasks and take a break in between. Short breaks from your work can help recharge and clear your mind mentally. Breaks should be stepping away from what you are doing and making a coffee, taking a stroll, or standing up for a stretch or a 5-minute breather. Try to avoid taking breaks from analysing charts and forex pairs to then browse social media. The goal is to switch up the tasks, not find ourselves within distractions. I really like the stages of the change model, which goes as follows. Pre-contemplation. During this stage, you're either unaware you've even got a problem or you have no intention of taking action in the foreseeable future in order to fix it, which is a lot of people. A lot of people have obviously got known issues that other people can see and view that they know are sabotaging their lives, but the actual person themselves has no awareness. They don't have that kind of reflection point where, each day they reflect on their day or their week. They just carry on as they are throughout life. Okay, so that's stage 1. Stage 2 is contemplation. Now, during this stage, you're aware that you have a problem and you intend to do something in order to fix it, but your intentions are still relatively vague and you don't know yet exactly what you're going to do. So you have no real plan. You know that there's a bit of an issue. You know that you're maybe lazy, that you're not getting things done. You know that you should quit your job. You know that you should put more time into mastering the strategy of Forex, but you don't really know where to start. So that's the contemplation stage, which is much better than the pre-contemplation. The next stage is preparation. During this stage, you plan to undertake a specific course of action in the near future in order to deal with your problem. So you've kind of identified what you need to do. You now just need to begin preparing for it to actually do it. Then the next stage is action. During this stage, you begin to undertake your planned course of action in an attempt to solve your problematic behavior. So basically what that means is that there's a problem, you've identified there's a problem, you kind of know what you need to do to fix that problem, and now you're actually taking action on trying to fix it, which is a really great stage to be at because it means that you're now working towards trying to make those improvements on things that maybe that a bit of a problem within your life. And then we're on to the next stage, which is the maintenance stage. Now, during this stage, you no longer engage in the actual problematic behavior that you've been trying to solve, but you continue to undertake actions which are necessary to ensure that you don't relapse. So basically, maintenance is like anything, right? So it's like going to the gym, maintaining, what you've initially worked for. It's about, staying on top of things, daily. like your reading. Like, for example, if you stop reading for 6 months and you were once a really good reader, when you begin to pick up the book again, you might be a little bit rusty. So it's about maintaining it. And it's the same with, maybe learning a language. You could be really good at a language and then you spend 5 years away from that country. You come back and it takes you a while to get back into the flow of things. So it's really about daily maintenance to keep everything, going and ticking over. Now, most people find themselves permanently stuck in the contemplation stage, meaning they know they have a problem and have good intentions to solve the problem, but have no real plan of action with changing the actual problem itself. I've now educated you on what procrastination is, tips on how to avoid it, and a plan of action to implement it into your daily life to help avoid it. Everything's about routine and habits. If you can stick to the long-term maintenance of good habits and begin crafting yourself into the new person you wish to be, it is actually possible to completely end old habits and find yourself within a new stage of termination. They say it's impossible to free yourself entirely from old habits. You simply just rewrite over them with new habits. But to some extent, they always remain. Therefore, most people always find themselves within the maintenance mode, meaning they need to maintain the habits as frequently as possible to get the most out of it. Similar to working out to maintain good abs. Obviously you can have a six-pack, and within 3 months of not doing any more sort of sit-ups or core workouts, you can lose that six-pack. So then obviously you have to, go all the way back to sort of the plan of action stage. The famous quote goes, people often say motivation doesn't last. When neither does bathing, that's why we recommend it daily. And it's true. I mean, you could brush your teeth, on a Monday, and you can't expect to, have fresh teeth or great breath by Tuesday. You need to then do it again and again and again. And that's obviously what we need to do with our habits. We need to just keep doing it over and over again. Every day, 1 hour at least, minimum, on the charts, every single day of the week. I hope you've enjoyed video 2, volume 1, where I've discussed procrastination, distractions, and building habits. Let's now move on to video 2, volume 2.